Welcome to the Holy Maneuver Podcast. I'm Marc.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves in Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
This is your first time listening in the sometimes, or actually, if this is your first time listening and or watching, in the sometimes short form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away.
Hey guys, did you hear about the new Ben & Jerry's exclusive flavor for the UK?
No, I didn't.
What is it?
Well, it's a bit chewy.
And it's speaking of Chewy, happy Life Day, everybody.
Happy Life Day, guys.
None of us have our red Snuggies on, unfortunately.
I don't own a red Snuggie.
I don't own a Snuggie.
Yeah, I don't own a Snuggie either.
I don't think I do either. I don't think so. But Shop Disney sells them now if you want to buy one.
It definitely feels like they are like starting to get into Life Day. I think George tried to ignore it for the entire time that he was in control, but Disney, like, if they can merchandise it, they'll
exactly. Disney needs that money.
But yeah, so I think it's only like a matter of time until we get the full holiday special on Disney Plus, because like we already have a tiny part of it on there with like the animated Boba Fett sequence. So I think it's only a matter of time until we get the rest of that.
There's been some clips that have definitely been of a higher quality than were broadcast. Like they've got the HD version of it somewhere. I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
George might have to pass away before that happens.
This guy. Yeah, I wore an appropriate shirt to go with our closing later in the episode, but yeah, off screen I do actually have a copy of the holiday special on DVD. It says the holiday special : special edition. And I like the quote on it because it's like, if I had a hammer and every copy of this, I would destroy each and every one of them. And it says George Lucas.
But here's the thing. Yeah, he could have destroyed it. He could have.
Yeah.
He didn't.
He likes it.
Exactly.
He likes it.
I think deep down, he is definitely an archivist, isn't he? Like, he hasn't built all of that empire that he sort of created to not keep every last little bit of footage.
Definitely. Like, even Mark Hamill today even like retweeted something Wikipedia posted about like it debuting however many years ago, and he's like, there's a reason it only aired once. But yeah, a little bit into this episode, James, thank you for joining us.
Being here.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
I know it's late.
It is. It is. It's about 1:45 in the morning for me over here, but so it's all good. I'm happy
belated Life Day to you.
Yeah, it's the day after Life Day. It's Life Day, Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, we've got a hangover. We're feeling it. We celebrated hard yesterday, but it's okay.
Very nice. But if you guys have watched Holy Maneuver before or listened to it before, you may have heard or seen Ralph on here a few episodes ago, who is James' counterpart on live action Star Wars.
I believe he was referred to as Duck Dynasty when he came on.
There was a comment before I trimmed my beard down, and Ralph was on here too. He's like, this. Someone said this looks like an episode of like Star Wars meets Duck Dynasty.
It does sometimes. Like I'll jump on and I'll have a hoodie on or something because it's cold in the UK always. And Ralph will be there because it's early in the morning for him when we record, and he's also got a hoodie on, but his beard like is blending in. And if I haven't trimmed mine back, I'm just like, we are just two white bearded guys sat here in hoodies, aren't we? We are the epitome of podcasters right now.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
As long as you shave this part of the beard so that it's not a neck beard, then you're good.
There's got to be a gap. There's definitely got to be a gap.
Yeah. There has to be some maintenance to the beard, and not just but
not just nose to pubes beard.
There's a soundbite for you.
I'm full of them. Let me tell you.
Nose to pubes.
It sounds like a metal album.
Metallica : nose to pubes.
Well, they're covers for the Load and Reload album. I mean, What was that a picture of?
Anyway,
Google it.
I don't know how to segue into talking about my son from that. So I guess I just
Well,
will.
what it's a picture of made your son. Let me tell you.
I mean, you're out of line, but you're right. Yeah. So some of our recurring segments, try to keep these a little bit short this week. We don't have any news this week, but for the I'm Your Father story time, I was just going to briefly share that it was my son's 17th birthday this
Happy
past
birthday.
week. Yeah, thank you. I will pass it along. And it was kind of a more low-key birthday. He bought himself the Stray PS5 cat game. And then me and my wife got him the God of War Ragnarok game as well. And then we got him some comic like art sketchbooks because he wants to go to college for comic book art. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was and he chose Five Guys for his birthday dinner. Is there Five Guys in the UK?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
we've got Five Guys. Yeah, they started up over here. I mean, relatively recently, but I'd say last sort of 5-6 years or something. But I'd had them whenever I visited the States before. But yeah, it's a good burger.
Nice. And did you have any, or I guess bedtime story time, Mike?
We talked about it 2 episodes or last episode with Vactor about bedtime. He mentioned something and we got on a bedtime tangent. Bedtime just sucks for a long time when you're a parent. Let me tell you. It starts off real easy. They go to bed pretty easy. And then all of a sudden they're just like, bed's stupid. I don't want to sleep. And every little thing is just like, oh, I got to wake up and see what's going on. My kid was just sound asleep snoring. I sat up to leave the room. And by the time I stood up, she was climbing out of bed, being like, I'm coming with you. I was like, you were just snoring. What are you doing? So then I had to sit back down, read another story. It was just.
See, the way that you can sort of turn that into it is like, I don't know, just start reading her Star Wars stories. And then, you're getting something out
Well,
of it.
It's funny because my Star Wars mentality is I want her to discover it on her own. I'll drop hints here and there because I don't want to force it on her.
Yeah, smart.
But we were in Target out of the blue one time and she ran up and grabbed a Grogu blanket and was like, I want this one. I was like, perfect. I'm buying 30 of them right now.
That's great.
Oh, that actually reminds me, we can talk about super quick, is the Studio Ghibli Grogu
Dust
animated
bunnies?
short with Zen Dust Bunnies. I don't remember the exact title for it, but
I think it was.
did you guys both watch that?
Yeah, it was
I did
Zen,
not watch it.
Grogu, and the Dust Bunnies. Yeah. I watched it. Yeah, I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, I mean
it's 3 minutes long. Like I think, including the credits, it's a blip, but it's that sort of hand-drawn Ghibli style. It's got some great music. It's super cute. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think your daughter would probably.
I'll play it for her.
Maybe she would watch it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She's got to get out of watching Paw Patrol. She's in a kick right there with Paw Patrol.
Oh man. Well, can't do anything for you there. But so yeah, that's gonna do it for like our story time. I'm Your Father segment this week. And before we get into our own discussion about Andor, we will segue into this pre-taped review that Vactor did for Andor. So here is our Wayne's World segue.
Oh yeah, another fantastic episode of Star Wars Andor. You think I'm gonna let a little cold stop me from watching and reviewing my favorite show on TV? Dang, Ferrix, no. This episode was fantastic. Just kept, another reason why this is the best show on TV. Moving all the puzzle pieces into place, all the chess pieces, and I think Forrest Whitaker and Skarsgård are the MVPs of this episode. Anytime they're on screen, they're just magnetic. You have to be drawn to what they're doing. Love it. Love that. The world is coming undone. He comes back and gives another performance after Rogue One. Another fantastic performance. R.I.P. to Marva. Very sad and very great character. Loved all of the emotional work in this episode. But I can't wait for the finale of Andor Season 1. Back to you.
All right, and we're back from Vactor's thoughts on the 11th episode of Andor, Daughter of Ferrix.
Dark thoughts
and
indeed.
yeah,
They were dark.
and I mean,
It's a
Very
dark episode.
I think Vactor would be pretty good friends with Cyril. That's
Oh,
all I'm
man.
saying.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
But I'm like Han. So anyways, during that, James noticed we have same tattoo in the
They
same
Similar.
spot.
inspected each other.
Well,
I've got the X-wings.
similar-ish.
I've got X-wings flying through mine. But yes, definitely like very similar
Yeah, you've got some
position
added
and
flair.
size. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't Star Wars, but I did
No.
when I got Spider-Man, I did it so
I
that
mean-
it was the same circumference.
I've got a
And the
whole
same
arm of
red color.
Scott Pilgrim stuff over on this other arm, so I'm just a mess of tattoos.
I approve of the Scott Pilgrim.
Good.
But yes, so this episode was awesome.
It was great.
It was. I enjoyed it.
It was
Yeah,
definitely a
so-
different sort of pace from last week's sort of all out intense.
Yeah, it was
from
it was
start
a
to
cool
finish,
down.
but-
It was
yeah.
a nice bring you down for a minute episode.
Mhm.
Make you sad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really did.
yeah. So this was the 11th and penultimate episode of the first season. It was directed by Benjamin Caron, and it was actually written by Tony Gilroy himself too. So thought that was pretty interesting. That this, I believe he's written some of the other ones as well, but this
I
one,
think he co-wrote the first three with his brother, or maybe his brother
Yeah.
got the full credit. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think he co-wrote the first three, if I remember
Okay.
right. It's been a while.
I guess like before we get like deep into the episode, kind of do first thoughts like round robin, starting with James, and then Mike, and then I'll go last.
I really enjoyed this episode. I watched it again just before we started recording, and it's, yeah, as we said, it's a slower paced episode, but I think I appreciated that coming off of last week and knowing that next week's the finale. Like, it sets the table so nicely for what I can only assume is going to be chaos going on Ferrix next week.
Yeah.
So it sets up that. I think it closes the book on a few storylines as well. So I don't think that we'll see Melshi again. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the last that we see of Saw Gerrera this season. But it closes those guys' stories off potentially in a nice way that it's like when we check back in with them next season, we know where they've been and what they've been up to. When everyone else, and that's the thing, like now with everything seemingly converging on Ferrix, we don't know who's going to get out of this alive.
Right.
It's the tension is definitely there, and yeah, the sadness of losing Marva, B2, the whole thing with B2 this week, and then seeing what's her name, Bix, seeing Bix sort of just, and how badly she's been tortured for the last few weeks.
Shell of a person.
Yeah, she's just a husk. It's distressing.
Yeah. Especially like that makeup, kind of like it's like that's kind of a subtle kind of a makeup job that they had to do too, because it's not like a monster movie kind of makeup where you have to like do like all this like gashes and stuff on it, but it's doing it to the point where a person just like looks like distressed and like just beaten emotionally.
I think that's it. Yeah, it doesn't look like they've physically been beating her or anything. It's not a physical torture that they've been inflicting on her, but she's clearly been tortured for this entire time. And yeah, she might be like, I don't know, a bit dehydrated and underfed, but other than that, physically she's okay. It's just the emotional weight that's been sort of put on her that she's just ruined.
Yeah, she did a great job of that. Was like a great mixture of like both the makeup that they did for her face as well as like her facial acting that she just did like without even like saying anything.
Yeah, that's
like,
it. She's got no dialogue in the episode. It's just, but you get it through just the acting.
Right. Yeah, and I
what
echo
did you
that.
think?
I echo that. Like I'm going back to what I said. It was a good cool down, change of pace episode to kind of let us reset and get ready for the craziness that is the final. They set up the showdowns and continued to build the story for something bigger and better. I I have some issues with a couple things, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I always find issues. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like I maintain Cyril's gonna die this season, so that's my prediction that I'm holding to. I thought Marva's death would have been more on-screen tragic than it was, but no, it's just great all around. And then that final like little space battle scene with Luthen and the Empire was just did not expect to see that. How he was able to get away with what he did. And just
there's some stuff in there that we've just never seen in Star Wars before, and it's super cool.
Yeah. And then I would second and third what you guys said as well too. Like, and when I made the art for this episode, I used B2 emo because I almost feel like this episode was like a very like emotional episode too. Just between like the scene with like Mon Mothma, which was like some great acting by Genevieve O'Reilly in that scene as well. Like it's a lot of like subtle acting in this episode too. Like there's just like the low key acting with Diego Luna after he gets off of like the space phone, I guess.
It's a payphone. It's a Star Wars payphone. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was like,
the acting's keeping it real. It's not like over dramatic. I mean, you can say Saw Gerrera gets a little over dramatic, but
it's part of his character, isn't it? Yeah. He's always been that way. Yeah.
But yeah, I just think like overall, like all the scenes, just they built on top of one another, and it was a very like you're saying, it was a cool down, Mike, but it was also, I think, a good building of both like emotional tension as well as like what was like that great kind of action sequence that got built up with Luthen near the end of it too.
It was interesting. You're talking about B2 being sort of having all the emotion in this episode when everyone else is being quite subtle, and it felt like B2 is like he's the audience surrogate in this episode. Like anyone who's ever suffered any sort of loss, like that feeling of just he's in denial. He's a droid. Like he shouldn't be feeling these things of like like going through the 5 stages of grief. Like, but he is. He's not wanting to leave her chair. He doesn't want to leave their apartment because that's his safe space. Like I'm blanking on Cassian's friend's name who was there looking after him and stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
He's there.
All workman guy.
Yeah.
Brasso, is that it?
Brazo, that's it. Yeah. He's like a friendly face, so B2 feels safe with him around, but he doesn't want to leave his place. He's like, maybe you could stay here. Like that would be nice. And some people have been sort of comparing him to a dog, but to me it seems more like he's a young kid, and it's a young kid who's just lost a parent, and I can relate. It happened to me, and you do feel that like just put me in that safe space, like leave me where I'm good. Like I'd like some people around me, that would be lovely, but I
need to be me right now. Just
like please, I'm going through it right now. Like just
there's that one shot that they kind of did that was like from the POV of B2 emo
with like the oil inside the lens there, like he was crying.
It was almost like he was like welling up and crying, like you said. So I was like, geez, because at first I didn't know that was supposed to be like his point of view.
No, it was distracting at first because I was like, what are we seeing? And then you hear everything that's going on around, and they're talking about sort of taking the body out and how peaceful she looks, and then it sort of cuts to the wide, and you realize what it is, and it's like, oh wow, we've not seen that before. And just the shakes on it. The second time around, knowing what it was, I found that it was seeing him sort of shaking, and it is that sort of that feeling of when you start to cry like uncontrollably, and your body is just sort of convulsing. And to see that in a droid, it's the line from Luke, that never seen such devotion in a droid before. It's like, well, clearly you never met this guy.
It is. It's crazy that we haven't seen this before, and we just think of droids as these like non-sentient things in Star Wars, and this is kind of flipped it on its head.
Even R2 feels like completely like devoid of emotion compared to B2.
Well, he kind of is. R2 is just kind of like, I got a job to do, get out of my way.
He's withholding until it's necessary.
Like he was kind of emotional in the second trilogy there, being all shut down and not wanting to wake up because Luke
Yeah,
wasn't around.
he was too emo.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think like the only other droid we've seen like with like the most kind of like personality would have maybe been like Leeds in like Solo.
Mm.
Just like with her wanting to lead the whole like droid freedom like revolution on that. Which not to like side tangent here, but her ending is like very dark and sad if you think about it too. With like she wanted to lead that whole like droid revolution to be free, and then she essentially gets imprisoned in the Falcon.
Yeah,
and then
it's the exact
stolen.
And then the few times that we see Lando in the ship again later, no reference to her. It's one of those things that if they were to ever go back after Solo, I said this a few times, I don't want any more like alterations to the original trilogy, but if they were to ever do it, like in Return of the Jedi, if Lando was to like walk in, even if he was to just sort of give that panel in the cockpit like a little tap or something, just some acknowledgement of her in there, it's like that would be nice. And I was certain that it was going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker, but then nothing. No recognition, no acknowledgement of her at all.
The only connection there was basically Billy D. Williams more or less wearing the same costume as Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And only one's outfit. That's all he needs. The one outfit.
Yeah.
When he looks that good.
Loves those capes.
Yeah.
But sorry for that side tangent, but like you said, like with Marva, I also wasn't like anticipating if she was going to die this season. I wasn't ever anticipating that to just be like something that didn't happen on screen.
Just kind of irked me because of all the writing lessons I've ever taken. They tell you show don't tell, and they basically just told you her death was coming the whole time and then never showed it. So like I was anticipating this traumatic thing between Cassian and her and someone else, either Cyril or Dedra involved, and then it was just like the episode starts, she's dead, and I was like, that was kind of lackluster in my opinion, but it was effective because of what B2 Emo did. But the fact that you don't see how like they just kept alluding to her degrading instead of showing it, which
I think that's a lot of what this show has been doing though. It's that grounding of it. It's not going to be, she's not going to have that big heroic standing up to the rebellion moment. We know that she's been wanting to do that. She wanted to stay so that she could rebel.
Right. I guess I didn't think she was going to have this big moment. I just thought Cassian was going to come back home and like Cyril would have been there and just like shoot her in the head in front of her or something. Something just not minuscule, but enough to like where there's like it adds to this other story. Like, I don't know. Got my hopes up. Shouldn't have done
it. Expectations.
Yep. They're a bitch.
Leads to disappointment.
I made like kind of an offhand joke to my wife later on because when Cyril's buddy calls him with the really bad Skype connection, so he's basically got the same kind of Zoom connection that I have sometimes. If anybody watches these sometimes, and you see like a little bit of lag to my.
I want to know what he was doing in that call. Like,
yeah,
it was unclear.
Yeah. I do like how they showed him in the recap. So we were like, oh, remember this really crappy guy from the first 3 episodes? Yeah, he's gonna show up again. But because
it was, I think he said it was a smelter. Like he was working.
Yeah, I just like he said something about smelting, but I was like, why is there a phone right next to the freaking smelter?
He's just using the emergency phone for making personal calls.
Yeah, I guess he ended up way worse off than Cyril did with his follow-up job from that.
Well, he doesn't have an uncle that can get him a nice job.
He doesn't have Uncle Harlow.
That's true. Which, speaking of, I wonder if we will see Uncle Harlow, or if that's just gonna.
He's just a giant MacGuffin right now.
Yeah. It would be funny if it's just Luthen.
Luthen connects everyone.
Yeah. It could be. You never know.
He's got people everywhere.
Yeah.
It could be.
So like the offhand joke that I made with my wife is because since Fiona Shaw was Marva in this, and Cyril's mom, I don't remember the actress's name, but she was also in the Harry Potter films, and she made she was the next door neighbor to the Dursleys in that, which Fiona Shaw was Mrs. Dursley in that.
Okay, so they were next to neighbors. Oh wow.
So I made some joke because she made some comment to Cyril about like that phone call, and I was like, well, yeah, your next door neighbor just died. You don't care about that.
Right.
But I thought that was funny too, because like in that movie, in the Harry Potter movies, like she was like a squib, so she was like an ally and nice to like Harry and everybody else, and then obviously like mysteriously was the other way. So I just thought it was kind of funny in the Star Wars universe, their kind of roles are a little bit flipped around. But we can go back to, let's go to like that whole Luthen Saw scene on that, because there was a lot of tension within that scene too, where like kind of what we like found out from like the last episode, where he was basically just gonna like burn, was it 15 or 50 guys? I can't remember.
I think they were talking last week that it was 50 guys.
Okay. Yeah, and then like Saw finds that out, and then he thinks that that Luthen is like part of the ISB at that point.
Yeah. We see, like, we know that Saw is like massively paranoid by the time Rogue One comes around, and to see, it might not be the start of it, but it seems like that is a character trait in him already. But his paranoia starts bubbling up as he starts looking around in a panic, trying to figure out who in his own organization is going against him. And I think Luthen sort of says to him, "It's like, settle down, like try and get a grip." Basically, and he realizes that he's not going to be able to talk to him rationally that way. So yeah, he sort of calls out Two Tubes and gives Two Tubes. He sort of throws him under the bus when he's got nothing to do with it.
He was just like, nose guy here.
Nice little calm. Yeah.
He's like, what the hell? I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm loyal to you.
No, was that supposed to be a lightsaber on his hip there? Do we know?
I don't think so. We saw him with a cane when he was on Ferrix in the first couple of episodes.
Oh yeah,
and it was like an extended. Yeah, it was like a one of those baton things.
I just keep seeing rumors that he's a Jedi, so I don't know.
I saw something about like, oh, it looks like a more civilized weapon, and I was like, please, no, I really don't. I don't want it. I don't need it. The story.
I guess he doesn't have to be a Jedi to have a lightsaber. He's a collector, so
exactly. Yeah. I mean, if it is, then at least he's got a good enough reason without being a Force user of some sort. But no, I think it's just a club or a staff of some sort. I hope.
I liked that whole. I liked that whole like back and forth there. That he's like, either put it down or give it back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess now. Do you, with Luthen, do you think he makes it into season 2, or do you think next episode that's going to be the last time we see Skarsgård in Andor?
I when we first heard his casting announcement, I thought that he was going to be a 1-season character. I thought that he would have had a lot more interactions with Cassian throughout this season. So the fact that they haven't since those sort of first few episodes makes me think potentially he's in the second season. But I also wouldn't be at all surprised if he makes that ultimate sacrifice in the next episode to save Cassian.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think unless he outright dies, there might be callbacks to him in the next season, or maybe like a scene randomly where he comes back. 'Cause I'm debating when he gets away in the end, if that's him fleeing for good, or if like he's going to do something else. Like,
I think he's in the fight until death. Like, I think he knows that, like, no matter what, like he's in it till the bitter end for himself. And I just think the most satisfying conclusion would be for him to like give up. Basically, we've seen him be willing to sacrifice so many people, but so that we know that essentially at the point where if he's giving himself up for someone else, then that person's importance is elevated through the storytelling that we've already had. Like, we know that whoever that person is, whether it's Cassian or Vel or whoever, Mon Mothma maybe, like if whoever it comes to when he has to give himself up, that person is way more important than he is. And so the way that he was talking about, like when they were talking in their coded talk, him and his assistant, who's again is late here.
Clea?
So names are Clea. Yeah, when he's talking to Clea,
Something with a K.
Sort of their coded sort of message about like pieces and what was the price, like their conversation, and him saying like, what about the other piece? I think it's worth the it's worth the risk. I need to go and investigate that.
Right.
I think that's him talking about going and finding Cassian. And without that piece, we'd have to close up shop. So I think that's him going, there's something about that guy. He's more important. He's
right.
He's going to be more integral to this than we originally thought.
No,
because at first he thought that Cassian was just a piece. He was just another pawn to use.
Now, do either of you get the sense that Clea is going to do something shady?
I don't know. I just feel like she's getting annoyed very easily.
I don't know. Something's going to happen with her. I just can't. I don't know if it's going to be bad, like she's going the other way, not part of the rebellion, or like what she's going to do, and it's going to mess something up. I'm waffling on where I'd stand on her character.
I did like her scene with Vel though too, where like Vel just like didn't give a crap about the coded. She was like, it's only us in here. Just have the conversation. But I thought, and I still want to know, like, because it feels like there's some different kind of connection between Vel and Luthen, just because of the way they interacted, other than just like kind of associates or like like rebellion acquaintances.
They definitely seem closer.
Yeah, and like before, like we found out that Vel was related to Mon Mothma. I thought it was going to be that like he was maybe, or she was maybe Luthen's daughter or some relation like that. But then that would make it feel like the galaxy was very small if he was like also like her dad or something like that. But and also she was related to Mon Mothma.
So she's Mon Mothma's cousin, and so if she was Luthen's daughter, that would make Luthen and Mon Mothma
brother and sister, right?
No.
Or no.
That would have been her uncle.
Cousins too?
Uncle? Yeah,
Uncles?
uncle?
Yeah, uncle.
Yeah.
I don't know how families work.
I
watched too much Hot D and Game of Thrones.
Hot D.
Yeah.
Everybody's
families
one branch.
Everybody's nephew, uncle, brother, and sister in the same thing. Yeah.
They keep the bloodline pure.
Yeah. They certainly do something.
That's how that one family in Kentucky turned blue. It's a true story. Look it up.
But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Clea. I'm sure like a bunch of this stuff's going to come to a head in the finale.
It turns out that Clea's one of the people on Yavin, just like turning the knobs and with the headphones on. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if that ends up being her fate. She sort of just joins the rebellion and is a background player that we don't ever check in on.
I mean, that's what kind of makes this show so great, is you want everyone to have a part in it, but they could just be a cog to nothing. But they're just written so well that you're just like, oh, like I can't get past the fact that I haven't seen Blevin in like 2 episodes. Like, what's he doing? Like
before I even watched the episode yesterday, one of my first notes that I wrote about when I was thinking about the show was that everyone is just a cog. Like these aren't necessarily the heroes. These aren't your Luke Skywalkers, your Han Solos, or your Darth Vaders or your Tarkins. These are the cogs. These are just the pieces that if they didn't shine a light on it with this show, all of these things are happening, but they're happening behind the scenes and they're integral, but they're not the flashy things. Like they are the cogs. And so like all of these people in the rebellion, whether they know that they're in the rebellion or not at this point, they are just cogs for positive. We think of like cogs is like a negative thing, and when all those guys on that prison planet were making what looked like essentially like big giant cogs for something, like like it's the whole metaphor of like, they are cogs making cogs.
Right.
Yeah. And then like it was even a few episodes ago, like the overhead shot showing like Cyril and his job, where like all those cubicles kind of looked like cogs interconnecting
Yep.
with one another.
Definitely.
I mean, that's
And
the way
I
they
think
hire
ultimately,
views people. So
Nothing
Yeah.
in this show is by mistake. It's all so well crafted that it's all definitely intentional.
I almost think that's gonna be like the best kind of comeuppance or like end fate for Cyril too, is that like ultimately like his destiny is nothing,
Yeah.
and he's just like
Goes
it's
back to
just
his desk job,
nothing.
his shitty little
Right.
cubicle job. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a harsher, like, than just getting shot in the head sort of thing. Like having to go
Yeah.
back and live with his mum. Like that's
Right.
worse. That is definitely worse. Like
maybe
I
Uncle
said,
Harlow will
yeah.
come grab him, give him a spanking.
Well, I mean, we know he got a promotion last week, so maybe he just gets demoted back down as
Right.
just,
Right.
the mail boy or something. Like,
Someone make an edit of Kyle saying "you're nothing, you come from nothing," and then just have it cut to Cyril like crying.
I said it on live action Star Wars this week, but I can picture a scene with him and Cassian facing off, and
Mhm.
him sort of saying something like to Cassian, it's like I don't know, last time you had a gun to my head, you should have pulled the trigger. You've ruined my life. Yada yada yada. This, that, and the other. And Cassian's like, I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. Like
Right.
he's nothing to Cassian.
Right.
But Cassian is everything to him. It's a really interesting, like twisted obsession dynamic that they've got.
Yeah.
Speaking of twisted and obsession, was that his secret box or was that his mom's like just jewelry stand?
I think that was his mum's secret box this time.
That's what I thought.
That's a weird sentence.
He went rummaging
has-
through his mum's secret box.
Yeah. He has ways of knowing. Now we were speaking on Luthen a little bit. We can talk about like the whole scene with him getting away
Mhm.
from the Empire. This was
So
like
cool.
a
It was
very
just-
quote unquote Star Wars scene.
Mhm.
With like
but it was new and fresh. Like so.
Yeah, I liked how like that ship has like every kind of like
Yeah,
counteraction to like everything.
It's the ultimate toy, isn't it? But like in a show that, if there was ever going to be a show that they never made toys of, it would be this one. But like
They just got their
ship,
toy.
like they just got their toy right there. Like I want the
Yeah.
like ultimate collector series Lego of
Mhm.
that ship with all the bits and bobs. Like yeah, give it to me.
Freaking lightsaber
That'd be-
attachments on the side that just
That's it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen something like that before, like the
I don't
Hardly
think we
like
have.
be
Coming out of-
like I can't think of anything. The only one that comes to mind would be like the clone dropships when they've got those ball turrets and they're firing
yeah,
as
and
they
then-
come down into the arena.
Yeah.
But even
But
that
it's got-
just seems like a more of like a condensed like laser, just like a shot. Whereas this,
Mm.
the lightsaber
These
cult
things
is-
stopped. Like
Yeah, definitely. And just the precision in which he did the barrel roll, like to
Mm.
take them both out, it was excellent.
Yeah, like at first I thought he was just gonna like get out of the tractor beam and then just like
Jump.
get the hell out of there. But
Mm.
he's like, no, I'll take out these TIE fighters first and then I'll get the
Right.
hell out of here. So
But I mean, he still left the cruiser, and the cruiser can still sort of identify him. So I don't know. It feels
Right.
like his cover is a little
Well,
bit blown.
yeah, I thought at first there too, like he was coming in to like take more of that ship out. Like I already thought that was cool. Like I don't know what it was, just like a bunch of like metal pieces
Yeah, it's
that
like
Yeah,
a
little
chaff or something.
mounted
floated
It was-
back
yeah,
and
it
took
was-
out the like the dish.
Love
That was awesome. And you could tell like the officer on the ship didn't
know
did
what the
not
heck was going on.
think that was
Yeah, it
happening.
wasn't a panic like the ship's going to explode or anything. It seemed like it wasn't a powerful
Mm.
weapon. It wasn't an offensive weapon at all. He said it was countermeasures sort of thing. So it's for that exact reason. But the fact that it just obliterated that dish was, the visual of it was amazing.
Well, and it's also, this series has done a good job of showing how prepared yet inept the Empire is.
Yeah.
Because the prison, like, so easily overtaken, and the guys just kind of like don't really fight back. They're terrible shots.
Mhm.
Then you have this one, they're just like, we got to practice these boarding things, and they're not prepared for like a fight back. It's like they have this plan in place to rule with an iron fist, but it's kind of just like a limp wrist. Like they're not really, they throw everyone out there and they're just like, they get mad when they fail, but they give them no training, they give them no nothing. It's just, you will succeed or you'll die. Like
it goes back to what Cassian said in, I think it was episode 3, where he's like, it's so easy to steal from the Empire.
Yeah,
All you have to do is walk in there confidently. Like
Mm.
you just they
Yeah,
are
it's just-
so up their own ass that they don't think that anyone can touch them.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
so like it's in every episode. It's a carried over how just inept they are.
That's it.
Yet how powerful they are at the same time.
But it's a ruling through fear, not through actual
right.
power, not through real power. It's just the illusion of power.
Yeah.
Like Dedra's the
and-
only scary one.
Yeah, because she's
Oh, yeah.
competent, because she is
Yeah.
actually good at her job. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we had like with the scenes with Melshi and Cassian too in this too, like where they were still on Marquina 5, just barefoot still,
Yeah.
like running through that planet. And like they come across like these two really well designed like alien creatures, which is nice too, because we haven't got that
You haven't got
many
many of them.
like aliens that aren't like humanoid like characters in this show. So it was
And they
cool.
were totally
and,
new as well. I don't recognize those aliens.
Yeah, I
at
never.
all.
Yeah, they reminded me kind of like of the, I don't remember the name of the brothers
Jay and
in
Silent Bob.
Ghostbusters 2. No, like the brothers in like the electric chair in Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't remember
what
their
they were.
names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, that's like in my head, that's what they reminded me of, just because of like their overall shape and whatnot.
Oh, that
but I
scene,
guess
that scene to me just felt like throwaway.
I wasn't expecting to see them get off that planet. Like, I mean, we opened with
Right.
them sort of on the side of the cliff, and
Mhm.
I like the line that Melshi's, he's so like he's wrecked at that point. He's like, I can't hold it on, my hands don't work anymore. Stop telling me that they're leaving. And then Cassian just sort of basically ignoring that and tells him again. And it's that same thing that Melshi obviously saw in him when they were on the prison. It's he sees that leadership quality in Cassian, and he sort of takes a breath, he collects himself, and he's like, tell me that they're leaving. And I think Cassian sort of smiles down at him at that point. He's like, yeah, they're leaving. You're like, come on, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting to see them escape that planet. I thought we'd just sort of cut back to them already
Yeah,
away. But
that's what they've done every other time. Is
Yeah.
they're off the planet now. They're off the planet.
it's
now.
it's the economy of storytelling. You don't need to see them leave if they can leave.
Yeah.
But
And then
I-
Melshi's even the one that like instigated them like running to the
Yeah.
quad jump over there too.
we'll make it. We'll be fine. Yeah. I think the whole point of it was just the fact that, the Empire's treading on people everywhere. Like it could just be some
Yeah.
random fishermen, and if people are willing to listen to each other and work together, then the Empire can't do anything about it.
Yeah, because they had like that like short kind of little discussion about like the water being all messed up, and
Because of the
then like
Empire
Cassian and Melchi be like, we didn't do, that's not our fault, we
Yeah.
didn't do that.
So I only really got it on the second viewing because the dialogue is they're speaking in a weird sort of dialect, and it's
Yeah.
a
One
bit
guy
sort of
doesn't even say
muffled.
words.
Yeah, he just sort of grunts. But getting it from the second time round, it seemed like they maybe thought that they were deserters, like they had worked at
Yeah.
the prison, and so they were like, "Well, we'll take you back because the Empire wants their deserters." But once they realized they were
Right.
actually prisoners, then
Mm.
they were like, "Oh, okay, no, cool, we'll cut you loose. You're fine.
Yeah.
Where'd you want to go?"
Yeah,
1,000 each.
I liked that netting too. It was like very spider webby.
Super
So I
cool.
thought-
Remind me of Lord of the Rings.
That's exactly
Oh,
what I thought. Yeah,
yeah.
Shelobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, like they like get back to Neomos, and the thought that I had there too was that like when Cassian like sneaks back into that hotel room that he had been
Just
staying in,
there.
I was like, how lucky is this guy that
No
nobody
housekeeping.
checked the top of that shower or nothing, like the shower didn't stop working or anything like over like that past month or so that he came back, just like it's all there.
I mean, it looked like
Yeah, like-
Greedo was sleeping in the bed too. But
Yeah,
that's-
they checked in. There was a couple of aliens like cuddled up on the bed, and he managed to sneak in. But also, like the beach just seemed a lot quieter. There was no music playing anymore. Like the DJ had packed up and gone away, and everyone had gone with him. And so, yeah, maybe
Everyone got arrested.
housekeeping. Yeah, that's it. Housekeeping definitely
Possible.
lacks, but they're still renting out the room. But no one's checking on
Yeah.
top of the shower.
But it was good to see that the manifest was still there, because I was
Started playing
hoping that
for a
wasn't
second.
just like lost. Oh yeah, which was, I didn't know it was, for some reason I thought it was written down.
I'd
From
assumed it was
like-
written because he said he was writing. He wrote last night, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's a mix of both, where he was writing,
Transcribing. Yeah.
yeah,
Because he was all
or
about
just
that
'cause-
analog viewfinder thing,
Yeah,
whatever.
maybe because it's
navigation
yeah,
tool.
like the Star Wars version of like a sextant, because that's what it
Yeah.
looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like maybe like in the future past of Star Wars, he's writing, and then because of the way like the softwares or whatever, and that has his voice from whatever he
It's
wrote
like
in, right?
it's Kindle Unlimited and Audible all bundled together. Like
Yeah.
the two come together. Like
Does paper
like
even
it-
exist in Star Wars?
I can't think of an instance where we've seen like a printed paper. It's always been like tablets and stuff when we have.
Oh yeah.
I just thought about it. Like, I've never seen paper.
Well, I mean, outside of the Sacred Jedi text.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly. Yeah, the Sacred Jedi text, but they're thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then so we talked about the fisherman's scene. We talked about Marva. I know, Mike, you had something we didn't say there about with Marva's death. And I
Anyone
saw
else want to be
that
made
you
into a
guys-
brick, or is that just me?
Nope,
Like-
right here. I love it. I think that's a
It was
great
just- There's
idea.
something just oddly
Did-
comforting about that. Just,
Mhm.
I don't know why.
I
Did you
love it.
post-
That's brilliant.
What?
That
The-
wasn't me.
the-
No.
go ahead.
Oh yeah,
the
their Instagram
live
post.
action on their live action SW Twitter feed and Instagram. Ralph, I think Ralph had done it. It's just a little 2x2 Lego like brick red thing. And it's just like, Lego store now taking pre-orders for the Marva minifig. It's I woke up and saw that this morning, and I was like, oh, that's dark.
I was like, oh man,
Mhm.
too soon.
Yeah, really. But absolutely,
and-
I'd put me in a brick. Like, I will happily be a part of the wall. Just
I think
another
they
brick in the
do
wall.
stuff like that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You can do lots of
because, I
stuff.
mean,
My
Yeah, I know you can be like a tree.
Yeah.
my aunt,
Yeah,
not to be morbid, but my aunt and uncle in Florida were looking at being made into like coral reefs. So
That's the same basic concept as being a
exactly.
brick.
Yeah, you're giving back. Like, it's
You're just you're an ocean brick.
what's his name? Luke Perry was buried in a mushroom suit, so he's mushrooms
Wow.
now.
And his son wrestles.
His son is a wrestler
He's a
named
great
Jurassic
wrestler
Boy
too.
or something like that.
Jungle Boy,
Jungle
Jack
Boy.
Perry. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Nice. I hope that he plays Morris Day and the Mother Effing Times Jungle Love.
No,
comes up.
he does have a great 80s track as his like entrance music. It's the one that plays at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. The Turtles in
Mark, your
Time
favorite
movie.
movie?
Yeah, that's the best one. Right?
Lies upon lies upon lies.
If you're gonna say lies, you got to say it like Saw. You can be like lies.
I can't do that. My throat's scratchy.
And then, so I think like the only thing that we haven't really talked about that much was the whole Mon Mothma scene with Vel and Mon Mothma, and Mon's really crappy daughter.
Yeah.
Well, she's
We find
Perrin's
out-
kid.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was really interesting that we found out that Perrin is actually quite okay with like giving up the old ways. He's in a shitty marriage too. He doesn't
Mm.
really want to be in this marriage, so
Right.
he's fine with not keeping to the customs
Mhm.
and how the kids on Coruscant, the Chandrillan kids on Coruscant are more adherent to these old ways than the kids back home on Chandrilla. I thought it is kind of an interesting thing. It's like,
Well, makes their parents mad, so they're gonna do it.
that's it. That's their way of rebelling, is by doing the thing that the parents dislike.
It's just the indecent proposal is gonna come to fruition, but who's gonna get blamed? Like
That's it. I think
Mon or Perrin?
Mon Mothma, I think at this point is definitely like she's gonna give up her kid, and she feels
Yeah.
terrible about it. But we find
part
out
of me-
like just the extent of her troubles this week as well. Like we knew that she was in some shit, but I think it laid it all out this week, definitely.
Part of me is wondering if Vel's gonna be like, here's 400,000, don't do it. Like,
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Because the way that she was looking was like, well, I kept some of that money from that heist that you don't know that I did. Because I'm sure that she smuggled some away for like, hopefully, I think she was probably hoping it was her and Cinta's retirement fund. But
yeah.
Something's gonna happen with her too, Cinta.
Yeah, spy versus spy. Spy versus spy happening there, definitely.
How much did Cassian and Vel end up with after that?
How much did they take initially? Was it 800 million, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's something. It was either 8 million or 800 million. Was what.
And Cassian only wanted his portion of it.
He got
like Cassian's was like 200,000, I think. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So does she just have the other 600? And then
I
guess
the other
that
7,800,000.
I think she's probably meant to give it all to Luthen and the cause, but
they mentioned it, I think, briefly in that one where Vel's first on Coruscant talking to Clea. She mentioned something. She mentioned the ship being buried.
Okay.
And then I thought she mentioned something with the credits, but I can't remember now.
I can't remember exactly, but I think the assumption is that she's given it all, but come on, you're stealing that much and you're putting yourself at risk and you're losing those many people like in the process. You're going to smuggle some away for yourself, aren't you? I certainly would have.
Yeah. But
or maybe Vel will marry that kid.
Jeez.
Throw herself on the sword for her niece.
I don't think that kid's Vel's type though.
No, he's not. Then that's made abundantly clear through subtleties. Even Perrin making comments, but shouldn't have a husband. We know that, and it's custom.
Perrin just being a jerk as always.
But it's the worst. It really is the worst.
I guess as we close out, was there any other notes that either of you had that we hadn't brought up yet that you wanted to bring up before we make some predictions for the finale?
I think we covered all of mine. Yeah, I'm just looking back through everything that I'd written down. The only bit was Cassian at the very end there, where he's sort of staring off into that sunset, and how that is so similar to the end of his end, essentially in Rogue One. Like the color is exactly the same of him and Jin on the beach there, as his doom is coming towards him. But then the fact that it's the sunset, but it's obscured by cloud, it reminded me a lot of Luthen's speech last week, where he's saying he's working towards the sunset that he's never going to get to see.
Right.
And it's that it's right there, and Cassian's seeing it. I think he's going to be essentially he's got his in-flight entertainment with that manifesto when he's on his way back to Ferrix, and between Marva's death, whatever happens next week, and that book, that's going to be what galvanizes him into becoming a full-blown rebel.
Nice. Any crackpot? Yeah. Any long simmering crockpot? Any crackpot theories for the finale from either of you two?
I still maintain Cyril's not making it out alive. I'm gonna keep pounding that drum until I'm wrong. And then I'll pound it why I should have been right.
I'd second that. I'd agree that Cyril goes out and he doesn't have a heroic death either. Like not even a heroic, but like he doesn't have a big death. I think it's
going to be a meaningless thing to everyone else except Cyril. Like
exactly, it's going to be an
cereal.
That'd be awesome.
It'll be inconsequential, and that's just the darkest fate for him. And I maintain that our hearts are going to be broken when B2 is damaged irreparably, and Cassian is going to rescue some circuits and parts out of him, and that becomes K2. Like something of B2 becomes K2.
That'd be cool.
Not this season though. Like that will happen next season.
I don't know. I have a strange feeling something's going to happen with Bix. I've thought about that since episode 1 or whatever episode Tim died in, and 1 or 3. But since she's been tortured, I think she's going to blame Cassian for some reason, and like some falling out's going to happen there. And then,
I mean, she already was even before she was getting tortured. But
And then Blevins got to come back. Something's gonna happen with
think?
him. Hey, he's got to, because they made that whole thing. Watch your back. Like, why
What about
why
Lonnie?
say it and have no payoff?
Do you think Lonnie gets found out next week?
Maybe that's what
Oh, yeah.
Blevin does. I don't know.
Oh, it could be.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few hanging threads.
I could see. I think Lonnie is going to be a tragic character because we know that he wanted out, and between Luthen and the ISB, like no one's gonna let.
Well, Lonnie's
him
got a
go.
family too.
That's
they
it.
mentioned.
So
Yeah, to make it even more like tragic.
I think he gets found out and killed, or is gonna essentially flip on Luthen, and Luthen just has to shoot him. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Maybe
see
Clea.
either,
Maybe Clea has to kill him.
Could be Clea.
Yeah. That could be
Yeah,
her
I can
thing in the
see
finale.
one of three people shooting Lonnie, possibly. Dedra either finds out and she just shoots
I don't
him,
think she'd
or-
shoot him. I think she'd torture him. She's not the
Yeah,
quick kill
maybe.
type, except that one that
She'll
pilot.
get everything
like,
she can.
Yeah, it's got to tell a story for her.
He's useful.
I think maybe one of like the last scenes or last shots that we've seen in season 2 might also be someone that we find out is Cassian's sister that kind of got seated like in the very first episode.
Marva
And
said
then
she's dead. Stop following her.
Yeah, a little bit later on, with like Marva saying that, but I feel they
B2
can't like
knows.
set
He'll
that
tell
up
him.
at the beginning of the season and then just like that. I feel like that has to get like that specifically has to kind of get paid off or resolved, and maybe
That's
in
B2's
some kind of way.
dying line. Your
Your
sister is,
sister,
and then nothing.
B2 was like,
I'm your sister.
Marva never told
There
you
is
about
another
your sister. No, I am your sister.
Yeah,
But-
I'd completely forgotten about that. But yeah, I could definitely see something else happening with the sister.
It's Mon Mothma. Everybody's
Oh,
really.
jeez.
But yeah, so with that, we'll close out for this week. But you guys can leave us a review on the podcast catcher of your choice, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever you use. And then you can find all of the social media info for the show in the show notes for like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and so on. And then you can also follow us individually on Instagram and Twitter. The info is also there in the show notes for myself and Mike. And then where can they find you, James?
They can find me on Instagram mostly, probably, and Twitter as well for now, while it's still there. At J Hewlett. That's JHEWLETT. Best place to follow me though is over at Live Action Star Wars. So either on YouTube, Twitter, Live Action SW, Twitter, Instagram, podcast catcher of your choice. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us there.
Yeah, and if you like Star Wars, which I'm assuming you do, if you're 50 minutes into this episode and still listening,
If not, why are
definitely-
you here?
Yeah, maybe just like Mike and I a lot, or you're good friends with James and you're like, I'll follow him to whatever show he guests on. But definitely check out Live Action Star Wars. Ralph and James are awesome. And then if you also feel like Invincible, they also do Invincipod, which
At
is
some point when it comes back. We don't know when yet, but yeah, Invincipod will be back.
which they're apparently already working on season 3 too. But yeah, so you guys can also follow our editor Vactor on Instagram and Twitter. That information's also in the show notes, and then you can email us at holdofpod@gmail.com. But as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Dear, thank the maker. It's insulting to try to do that accent with James on this show.
I can't do it either.